All right, we're going to talk about multiplying with decimals. We've been reviewing our basic multiplication facts in class. We've done 2-digit by 3-digit. We've gone over 3-digit by 3-digit. Now we're going to throw that decimal in there, and we're going to just talk about how that changes the final product. So let's read along with me as I'm reading out the text here. It says, why we learn this. So we're going to read a story problem and just talk about what multiplying decimals means. Understanding how much a plant will grow over time is important in gardening. You can multiply decimals to estimate how tall a flower or a tree will grow. We're going to look at these models below, and this is showing us 5/10 times 1 and 5/10. And basically what that means, we know that 5/10 can be represented as a half, if we're writing it as a fraction. And so we're finding half of 1 and 5/10. So when you multiply, we're saying basically 5/10, and this multiplication symbol also means 5/10 of 1 and 5/10. These columns down below here, so I'm going to erase so that you can see this. These columns down below here represent the 1 and 5/10. So we got 15 columns representing 1 and 5/10. And then over here, we've shaded 5 rows of each grid, and that's what's representing our 5/10. So we're seeing how much 5/10, that 5/10 over here, of 1 and 5/10 that is. And so if we did this and we counted each of these little squares, we would know that it's 75 tenths. That's how much it is. In class, we're going to be doing a folding activity and doing hands-on with this. But this is just a basic introduction, a visual. What is half of 1 and 5/10? Now we're going to go over the steps to solving a multiplication problem with a decimal. So the first problem we're looking at here is 47 hundredths multiplied by 8. And I'm going to jump you over here to our next page where I go over the steps of solving. So I want you to write this down before we go back to solve. Number 1, when we multiply with decimals, we line up the numbers and we ignore the decimal points and multiply. So you should have done a quick check-in with yourself and gone, wow, this is different than adding and subtracting with decimals. Adding and subtracting, you always line up the decimal points. When we move on to multiplication and division now, we've got a new rule. We ignore the decimal points. We act like they're not there. You line up the numbers. Step number 2, you need to count the number of digits to the right of the decimal places in each number. I'm going to be showing you this and modeling it, but just write this down so we can refer to our notes. Count the number of digits to the right to the decimal points in each number that you have. And number 3, in the product, then you go down below, so once you have that final product, you move from left to right the total number of decimal places. Write those notes down, and now we're going to go back, and we're actually going to try this out. So again, we're going to write that problem down. You've got 47 hundredths multiplied by 8. And I'm ignoring that decimal place. I'm going to act like it's just not even there. I'm going to just start multiplying. So I'm multiplying 7 times 8, and that's going to give me 32. I place my 2 down below, carry my 3 up above. And I've got 4. What? Mr. Brian made a mistake here. That is what erasers are for. Let me get the correct color pencil up. And now I need my pen. Okay, here we go. 47 hundredths times 8. What is 7 times 8? Yes, it is 56. Place my 6 down, carry my 5, and now 4 times 8. Well, that is 32, and 32 plus 5 is 37. So I've done that first part. I've multiplied, I've ignored my decimals. Now I'm going to that second step that said I have to go back, counting from left to right. I need to count my decimal place, or moving from right to left. So I'm coming over here, and I'm going to count how many places I have to move to get to that decimal. Starting, and I've got to go 1 and 2. I had to jump twice to get to the decimal. So I'm going to write a 2 up above here. I had to move 2 places. And the 8's a whole number, so I don't have to do anything. Now I've got to take this number and come all the way down to the product. I'm going to start on this right-hand side, and I'm moving in 2 spaces. I had 2 spaces I had to move here to get to the decimal, and now I start at my whole number and I move in 2 spaces. 1, 2, and my final answer is 3 and 76 hundredths. That's how we do this. All right, let's do a little bit of a quick check in here. Quick remembering, you can show multiplication in 3 different ways. So we've got the x, we know that that represents multiplication. We've all seen that dot now, that dot represents multiplication. And you're going to start seeing parentheses around a number. The numbers are side by side, but you've got parentheses. And that also is a way that we show multiplication. So just a quick remembering. All right, what do we know? What do we know? If I've got 4 tenths times 6, I want to just do some quick check here. I've got 1 decimal place with 4 tenths. If I had to move it over to get to the decimal, I'd only have to move it 1 time. So I've got 1 decimal. 4 times 6 is 24. And I've got to move it how many times? 1. Start here, move it over. So I want you to see that that's a pretty quick and easy way to get your answer when it's your basic facts. Let's try it over here with 5 tenths times 5 tenths. And I want you to also practice saying 5 tenths of 5 tenths. So that multiplication symbol also means of. 5 tenths times 5 tenths, or 5 tenths of 5 tenths. I've got 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place. Let's just multiply. 5 times 5 is 25. How many decimals do I have total? 2. Starting in front, I'm going to move it over 2 times 1, 2, and your final product is 25 hundredths. So once we know that rule, it's actually pretty easy to solve when we multiply with decimals. All right. So let's do one more here. Let's see, is this your guys' practice on your own? No, we're going to do one more together. Let's do one more together here. So we've got 1 and 31 hundredths multiplied by 2 and 4 tenths. So let's go through our steps. We are just multiplying as if there are no decimal places. 1 times 4, 4. 3 times 4, 12. Put down my 2, carry my 1. 1 times 4 is 4, plus that 1 is 5. So let's mark everything out that we don't need anymore. All right? Adding my 0 because I am now multiplying in a new place value. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And 1 times 2 is 2. Now I've got to add. I get 4, 4, 11, and when I add 1 plus 2, I get 3. Now I'm moving over. I've got to ask myself, how many decimal places? So I'm starting over here at the right. I want to jump in to see how many places I have to move to get to that decimal. 1, 2. 2 in my first number, and in my second number, 1. So how many decimal places total? 3. I take that down to my product, and I've got to move it in now 3 places. Starting behind the 4, so I've got my whole number, now I'm moving my decimal in. 1, 2, 3. Add your decimal point. So your answer is 3 and 144 thousandths. Again, remembering to say the place value. Now, it is your turn to practice. So practice with those basic facts, seeing how many decimal places there are, and then just moving the decimal in. And then try 8 tenths times 4 tenths, and then number 3, you're going to try 1 and 9 tenths times 6. And go back, review your steps, review the problems. The more we practice, the easier this gets. Adios.